Hi everyone. I have Sarah Sal with me, and it's a privilege to be able to interview her and talking on the topic of interruption marketing and paid social media. For someone like me with a long career in search engine marketing, I've been doing SEO and PPC on Google for more than 20 years. The core focus of my work has always been capturing demand. And lately, I've been very much interested in the other side of the the business, where we can actually generate demand and where we actually can interrupt people when they're not looking specifically for our product or a solution to the problem. And it's been fascinating how we can effectively do that. My attempts at this haven't been great. So here I have Sarah with me today, and she's very, very experienced doing that. I believe over a decade of experience working with paid social for some exciting businesses. Experience ranging across Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and potentially other platforms. She has some remarkable success stories on her blog. Go check it out, and uh, I'm sure she has a lot of exciting things to share here today. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Okay, did I miss anything from your introduction? Anything that you want to add
No,
to
it's a,
this?
it's a pretty good introduction.
Fantastic. Now, when we are talking about interruption marketing, we have in social media context, we have a user that's scrolling their social media feed, and we need to interrupt them and grab their attention, eventually sell our product. How do we effectively interrupt the customer when they're in the mood of just enjoying themselves, spending time on social media? How do we do that effectively?
I tell people to forget for 1 minute it's social media, forget it's advertisement, forget there is an algorithm, and just imagine you enter a coffee shop. You enter maybe Starbucks. You sit across somebody reading a book or working on their laptop. Um, Imagine you see the girl in front of you and you see, "Excuse me, ma'am, I notice you have a mustache in front of your lip. I happen to be a doctor helping people with hormonal imbalance." She would throw her coffee in your face, right? Um, just because it's interruption doesn't mean you cannot be sitting in front of someone and having a conversation. It's just that people are not actively looking for a solution. I was once in a Starbucks in Bangkok, and the barista took a green tea cake, cut it in very small pieces, went and gave everyone a tiny slice. It wasn't out of charity. It wasn't he thought, "Oh my God, those people blood sugar is down. Let me bring it up." He just knew that if people took a bite and realized how delicious it is, sale of that cake are going to go higher. And this is what I did with Strategizer. They spent something like $4,400, got one sale for $2,000, so they were making like 40 cents for each $1 they made. And
Wow.
I read their book, their blog post, their YouTube channel, and I wanted to give people a taste of the value they get if they go to their conference. And now they were making like $18 for each $1 they spent on ad. So it's like provide value first, give people a pre-taste that make people go, "Wow, this is really good. I could imagine myself benefiting from this product or service," as opposed to just jumping in, telling people you're selling a product or service.
Okay. Uh, how do we actually show the benefits while the user is scrolling the social media feed? It's a fundamental thing. You need to sell the benefits of what you have there. How do we do that while that they're scrolling on the feed? We have mere seconds to capture their attention.
And on your social media feed, wrote something personal. Would you stop and read it, right? I did.
Yes,
Okay, so
it's
how
very relevant.
exactly? I mean, just because your business, just because you're B2B, just because it doesn't mean you don't have human story that people would be interested in reading. I once run a webinar around the topic of depression, and I cut the cost by half and increased the volume by 10 by telling the person's story. Instead of saying you're invited to a webinar next week about depression, I told her story, and her story was really vulnerable and personal, where she said, after my husband died from cancer, I was super depressed. Doctor put me on antidepressant. I almost committed suicide. I was insomniac. I was depressed. I lacked motivation. The side effects were horrible. And just by being vulnerable, like I've been in your shoe, I get that maybe you're depressed. I'm not just here trying to sell you for the sake of selling you. Let me start with my story. Let me start by how depressed I was, how I have a PhD in psychology and I didn't even know how to treat myself. So this is like basically mirroring the type of story that people would want to stop what they're doing and say, "My God, that's a really good story."
All right, so finding a way to tell a story right from the beginning.
Exactly, exactly, exactly.
Okay, okay, and now we want to promote a product or a service. As a business, we advertise because we want to sell something. It's not just for it's not just a popularity contest. We ultimately want to get some business out of the ads that we run. And most of the products I see advertised, most of the advertisers do exactly the same thing. They go out there, they create some ads, they push those ads, and they scream, "Buy my stuff." And I'm interested to learn: does this actually work in this competitive environment that is the advertising space online today?
It could work. It could work if it's a product where there is a lot of demand. I once talked with a company from Singapore, and they said in the beginning of 2020 they run ad for a hand sanitizer and they got like $200,000 in sales, and they were wondering 1 year later why it's not the case. There was a shortage. Everyone was desperate to buy the product. You couldn't go to the supermarket and buy it. So if you have a product where people are desperate to buy it, sure, you could say potato is potato if everyone is like, oh my God, where could I buy potato? Now, imagine there is 5,000 advertisers trying to sell the same exact potato. It doesn't work. And that's where sometimes I'm provocative with clients and I say, there is 566 company selling the same exact thing as you. Why would anyone consider you? Now the client become defensive and they start saying what they do differently, how they provide value, who is their customer they're trying to serve instead of serving everyone. And then I would point the finger, I'm like, you just told me your ad copy. Because if you don't differentiate yourself from the 566 other advertisers selling the same exact thing, people are going to continue scrolling. They're not going to figure it out on their own. The second thing is like, what's in it for me? What is the benefit? Create the desire. People will say, I don't know, I'm making the most stupid example. Buy some donkey milk, right? And donkey milk is donkey milk, buy it right now. And the question is like, why, right? Oh, it has vitamin E. How am I
Yeah,
supposed to know that vitamin E is good for me? You could say, hey, it's slow aging, it make your skin look better, you would feel less tired. Now that's a benefit. Now I'm like, okay, I would feel less tired, my skin would look better, I wouldn't need to use so much makeup to cover the imperfection in my skin if I have vitamin E. Okay, now I'm listening. But if you just say donkey milk, I'm like, why not camel milk or I don't know,
yeah,
rabbit milk? I mean, just for the sake of having a silly example.
yeah. So in essence, it's supply and demand situation, and in a saturated market you need to find ways to stand out to be able to sell
Exactly.
things. Right, okay. Now, social media users, we value authenticity, especially nowadays. I can testify in search everything is saturated with AI generated content. Everyone's pushing, frankly, boring articles because they are written with by AI, which is not at the level that we want it to be, at least not yet. How and people crave authenticity, like we want to see something, the human side of that. Now, how businesses can align our advertising campaigns with our human values and build rapport and trust with our customers? How do we effectively do that in this saturated marketplace?
Good marketing is 90% listening, is 90% reading, is talking to your customer, is getting to know them. And AI cannot do that. I mean, you're not going to have a robot knocking on your door saying, "Hi, I want to know how this product help you." I mean, spend even 1 hour talking to a customer, know their story, because chances there are amazing story on how your product or service helped someone, and no one know about it, including yourself, unless you go and ask. I give you an example. I wrote some ad for a copywriting course that cost $2,000. It's the Copywriter Club Accelerator. And I literally would jump on Zoom call with some of their students and spend as much as 50 minutes with them and asking what was the before, the after, the process, how um, did it help you? And a copywriter that was working on the project with me, she was so impressed with those stories, she ended up borrowing $2,000 from her father so she could buy the course. She wasn't supposed to be a client, but that's how effective it is. And we surveyed the audience. One person said, "I've been to the webinar. I liked it. But from the webinar, I was not going to buy. I was going to DIY it because $2,000 in my career is a lot of money." Then I got an email about the story of Shanti, how she worked at an agency, generated lead for them via via quizzes at a really cheap cost, and they fired her without a notice. And despite her being the only bread provider in her family. And then she was like, "Oh my God, I'm in the same situation as her," when she got fired and she ended up buying the product. So everyone can go to ChatGPT and say, "Write me 5,000 blog posts or email or ad," and everything is going to look the same. But the only thing that is different is talking. The other thing is like why people buy your product. In Japan, they found there are people who are renting cars, like share cars, and not driving them. And when they sent a survey, they found people were buying food and they had nowhere to sit down and eat it. So they would go to the supermarket, they go buy some street food, then they rent a car and sit down inside the car and eat for 20 minutes. And then on the phone said, "Okay, now I'm no longer renting the car." And it's ridiculous how many advertisers out there who never get to know why their customer are buying. So if you just sat down, I mean, I give you an example. I worked with a celebrity trainer that trained people in Hollywood. And in the fitness niche is crazy competitive. Everyone is get in shape, build muscle. Everyone is basically echoing everybody else. And when I sent a survey, some of them said, "I'm 50-year old. I go to the gym 6 times per week. I tried every diet. I'm hopeless. I think it's impossible to lose weight. I think I'm a bad role model for my daughters." And we listened first, and then I wrote an email like, "Hey, no, it's not that you're too old. It's just that I get older, your testosterone go down, and here's how you could increase it." And there are scientific study backing us that this is the reason. And now, if somebody tell us this is my problem, I'm getting old, nothing is working, and we echo that back to them and saying this is the solution, we listen to you. You think they're not going to listen to us and take action? They took action, and some of them were paying like $300 per week to get personal training after that email.
Answering the why question,
Exactly.
that is the important bit. Where does storytelling come into play here? When we are looking to show the human side.
It humanizes the brand, but it makes you imagine yourself in the same shoe as somebody else who the product or service benefited them. It's, and it's not pushy, it's not salesy, right? I mean, I have some ads where people read it and then they leave a comment and they said, I read the whole ad, clicked on it, and I didn't even realize it was an ad till the end. And that's at the time where 33% of internet users have ad blockers. So anything that looks like an ad, people are going to scroll. And I'm not saying you need to always use storytelling. It's a very powerful tool, but you need to provide value. So if somebody read your ad and they feel like I learned nothing, you you didn't change my perspective, it was a waste of time, that's a bad ad. The most effective ad don't look like an ad, and you could have something that doesn't use storytelling, but when you finish reading it, you're like, oh my god, I learned something I didn't know before having read that ad, and that increases your credibility when everybody is basically pushy and scammy, and you're a perfect stranger. Why would people believe your claim if you don't have anything to support them?
Okay, very interesting indeed. You recently gave a talk at Brighton SEO, and that's where I actually found you. And you talked about lead generation on TikTok, a very interesting topic. And TikTok is a strictly video platform. You can only show video content there. Is there any difference in the way it should be approached compared to the more traditional type of platforms?
TikTok is less forgiving if you're unauthentic. On Facebook, you could hide behind text. I mean, your text could have been written by a dog and you run it and nobody know, right? On TikTok, I've seen people who hate being on video. I'm not saying everyone should be on video. And then they take a GIF, they use an animation, and none of that worked. And they would spend like $50 and not a single person clicked on the ad. Because of that, it's easier to spot when somebody is unauthentic on TikTok. The other thing, the recommendation engine is amazing. I mean, I knew of someone who has a business that teach people how to eat and cook vegan food. And the video was just an animation saying, learn how to cook vegan food. I am vegan myself. So if I look at just one video of something that's vegan, the recommendation engine of TikTok is so good. They would recommend me people who travel the world and eat vegan food, people from East Africa who cook East African foods, a Laotian woman who immigrated to the US as a refugee, that she's veganizing traditional Laos cuisine. And the thing is, if I have all of that content and somebody is telling me, buy my course or give me your email to access the course, and I'm like, I already have this on TikTok for free. Why would I give you my
Yes.
email? And what made him stand out is basically it's not eating vegan, but it's eating vegan food to reverse some illnesses. It's proportion. It's like exactly how much fat, how much carbohydrate, how much fiber you need to have in your food. And by just having an animation, people couldn't care less about what he was saying. And that's where TikTok is less forgiven when you don't have authentic content.
Yes, authenticity. My experience with TikTok personally, we created an advertising campaign. We worked on an advertising campaign for educational type of business, selling courses and certification, not the ones that we see on Facebook, or at least the ones that I'm bombarded with. So educational business, high demand. We used animation, contrary to the popular recommendations and what we are supposed to do. But we used animation, high demand for the product, and we managed to generate tons of leads, literally very cheap compared to what we do for the same client on Google. Now, the challenge was they weren't able to convert those leads. Like people were uh, like just not converting, not buying. They were subscribing but not buying. How do we work on that? How do we optimize that to actually get sales from the platform, or yeah, for them from the platform?
Often marketers act like they can go to a coffee shop, sit in front of someone, and say, "Would you marry me?" Not even ask for marriage on the first day. And then they hear that, no, 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 you need some engagement. So they're like, you know what? I'm going to ask the person name before asking for marriage. And then it doesn't work. They're like, I think it's the targeting. It's never my approach. I just went there. What is the address of the coffee shop where I could go where somebody would say yes, right? You wouldn't do that in real life. And that's where building a relationship over time via email marketing is king and queen. Social media marketing is about interrupting. Get an email as fast as possible, then use email to change their perspective. I've seen language courses do actually really well on both TikTok and Facebook. But if we just said buy our course, why would they, right? Now we said, okay, why should they buy our course? Why going to a school and learning about a grammar is a bad idea? Why using story as a method of learning course is better? Who is the teacher and what's the person's story and experience? Credibility factor. Hey, look at me. The BBC interviewed me. Here is a story of somebody who was living in Mexico for 4 years and couldn't get by, and how by using our new method after 6 months he was able to mostly speak Spanish instead of English. It's like drop by drop you're changing people's perspective and building the desire, like, hey, there is all those alternatives. There is a formal language courses you could go to at school. You could let me tell you why we're a better choice for you, and it worked.
Do we tell the story in that single ad, or there's a nurturing
And
process
nurture.
behind?
So the ad is just to get your interest, your curiosity, to click, right? Then you have a landing page. The landing page job is to get you to take action and convert. In this case, give the email. Then the job of the email is over time, maybe 5 days, maybe 10 days, maybe 2 weeks, to get you to buy the product. Granted that you're able to create the desire. Now, if the educational course is how to repair microwaves, and it's something very specific that only 1,000 person Google every month, and there isn't a clear benefit on how to repair microwaves, that's really hard, right?
Yes. Now, speaking of email marketing and nurturing process,
Mhm.
what's your approach to email marketing? Do you send just a newsletter type of emails, or is it more sophisticated? What you do to actually get those leads to closer to converting?
I'll say first, listen before talking and echo what people need. Because, I mean, okay, I went to a holiday once in Turkey and everyone is screaming at me, this is the best kebab in town. I am vegan, right? I mean, if they ask what type of food or dairy requirement I have, they would have been more. I mean, if they first, oh, okay, Sarah is vegan. Do you know we make Turkish pide where we use walnut instead of meat? Sure, I'm interested. I mean, I would really would love to try that. And back to the example of the personal trainer where people said, I'm too old, right? So when people have something and the lead doesn't work, I say, talk to the human, offer a $50 gift card at Starbucks just to get to know them. I worked once with a financial planner, and she helped people with the scholarship. She had like a $500 course, and her ad was not working. All her previous advertiser couldn't get her results. She tried also Google, she couldn't get result, and she showed me this sale page, and I'm like, no, 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 stop. Let's offer people, because it was a $500 course, so it's not an impulse buy. I say, offer people a free consultation where you offer them value, you try to solve a problem. And you could always say, by the way, one solution to solve that problem is my course. And she came complaining to me to say the majority of people I'm talking with are single mothers. So we changed the ad copy to some, and they don't have the money to hire me. So we changed the ad copy to say if you and your partner make over 100,000 per year, had a job continually for 5 years, you could get a college loan at 1% interest rate instead of 6%. In
Hmm.
10 years, 20 years, that difference of interest rate might equal 200, $300,000. And now people who had the money were opting in because before they were looking at the ad and saying, that's not for me. And now we gave a benefit that is clear to that audience, and she was getting sales that were really profitable, and the landing page was the same, the targeting was the same, the product was the same, the person on the phone was the same. The only thing we changed was how we talked to the audience. And had we not talked to a human first, we would never have gotten the feedback. I mean, we would have stared at an ad dashboard with the click through rate and how many people clicked, how many people seen the ad, etc. But we would never have the feedback loop that allowed us to get the sales. So
Yes,
I say,
qualifying the
exactly.
customer
Don't start by
beforehand.
automating. I mean, business owners are guilty of automating from day one. They automate the email, they automate even the ad copy, they automate the webinar. And I'm like, no, no, no. Start by doing the market research, start by talking to people. And once you're getting the sales and you have so many applications and you cannot cope up, then automate, but never start with automation because you might automate the wrong thing.
So talk to your customer, work on
Or prospect, not even
getting insight,
customers.
yeah,
So,
prospects,
or
yeah,
even prospect.
insights from them. Craft your story based on that, and then communicate, then automate it.
Correct.
Okay, makes perfect sense. One question: at what stage do we ask for the sale? Talking about TikTok here, it's not the first step to ask for the sale. It's not buy our stuff.
For some product, it
Yeah,
could work. I mean, the,
hand sanitizers in a pandemic, probably
no, or
yes.
even, I mean, there are products that are impulse buy. Sometimes somebody see a dress or a T-shirt or even a restaurant like, oh my God, I love how they make that pizza, and people are going to buy. So there are niches where people will be, hey, for $15, this pizza look amazing, and I never tasted something like that. Okay, I'll go. I mean, given that you live in the same city, I'm going to buy it. Um, Marketing is dipping your toe into the water. Would you even get a sale? Are you even on the right channel? Can you target the right people? So I say, number one, would anyone click on your ad? Number two, would they give you an email? Number three, if they give you an email, would they buy? If they buy, is it profitable? If it's profitable, how far could you scale it? But it's basically you're doing market research and you don't know how fast. It depends on the product. I mean, there are B2B products where the sales cycle is 1 year, and there are products if you really build the desire. Some people could buy in 1 day or in 5 days. It become a question of how do you create, it's more a right question. It's like, how do you create the desire? How do you communicate that their life is going to be better after that product than before it? And how do you create credibility? Because anyone can make a claim. I could say that this espresso will make you look 10 years younger. I mean, if it's true, everyone would want to buy it. But why do you have a reason to believe me if I just make claim for the sake of claim?
Yeah. Okay. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Uh, Speaking of building desire and putting our brand out, telling our story, why would we use paid ads specifically on TikTok when we can get so much organic exposure still.
I'll give you an example from Facebook, and it's also true for TikTok. I would often have clients who would post motivational meme, and I would ask why. Oh my God, they get engagement, but how is that even helping your business go? And I'm like, how do you imagine this going? You're telling people that nothing is impossible if they believe themselves. That somebody is going to say, oh my God, I never knew that. Now I'm going to turn cat shit into diamond. And then once they do that, oh my God, it's thanks to that page that gave me that motivational meme. Now I'm going to check what product they sell. Oh my God, they sell elevators. I'm going to buy 10 elevators to thank them. It never happened that way. And when you pay ad, you're less likely to make stupid things because you could make a very stupid dance video. You could inhale a whole bottle of chili sauce up your nose and it's going to get 100 million view. But how's that going to help you? I mean, I give the example when people say make engagement or view or exposure for the sake of exposure. If I go to Italy at a conference, let's say a marketing conference, and I tell everyone, Italian grandmother make the best food in the world. Everyone be like, wow, congratulations. But would it make them want to hire me as an advertiser expert and say, hey, Sarah, you told me that my grandmother is making great food. When can you start running a LinkedIn ad for me? It never happened that way. And I even have sometimes friends who know I run ads who say, hey, can we hire? Like, what are you hoping from that? They say exposure. Really? You're just hoping exposure for the sake of exposure? Oh, maybe traffic. Okay, what are you hoping that the traffic do? I mean, if you get 1 million click and you get zero sale, you're not going to be happy. And by all means, if you're doing organic and you're getting sales from it, you're getting leads, you're getting clients, you're getting business growth, keep it. I'm not going to say don't do organic, right? Now, if you're doing something organic and it's getting you result, why not show it to more people and get more clients, right? So, so,
Absolutely.
so in a sense, yeah, I mean, organic, you could do a dance video, but if you're paying and you spend $500 promoting that dance video and now you're seeing you have zero sales, it kind of forces you to think something is broken, right? Either the content of my video, either I have bad email marketing, either my landing page is not converting, either.
Yes, and when you're doing paid ads, you have the right premise there that okay, something transactional is going to happen in the future if you engage with
Exactly.
this ad. Organic is good for engagement in that sense, but doesn't necessarily result in more business for you,
Yeah. I mean, like,
depending how
it,
it's approached, of course. But
yeah, SEO versus paid ad. I mean, there are advertisers who do SEO, and I do get clients who visit my website versus SEO. I'm not going to say do paid, don't do SEO. I mean, to each their own and what works for them as long as they get a positive return on investment based on their effort. I mean, you could do both, right? I mean, one could amplify
yeah,
the,
absolutely
the
right.
other, but you need to think, is it really helping growing my business, or am I just making people laugh at my stupid joke, and my bank account every day is getting poorer?
Yeah. Okay. There is this perception that TikTok is a platform where we can target the younger generation only. To what extent is this valid, and what kind of audiences we can actually reach there?
When in the early days of TikTok, it's true because this is how they grew. It was about stupid dance video like karaoke, etc. Now it's a major platform with 1 billion user, and you could target for each age. I mean, if you're selling retirement holiday homes, you could target people who are over 50 or over 55 or over 60. And out of 1 billion people, your audience is going to be there. So in terms of age, I'm not going to be worried. Now, if you're selling laser equipment for universities, is really TikTok the best place? Because can you target people who buy laser equipment at Harvard University? Probably not.
Yeah, you would probably go on LinkedIn or somewhere
Or
else.
just visit them and buy them lunch. Maybe buying them lunch would be cheaper than targeting 10 million people, hoping the right person see it.
1 billion people on TikTok. Okay, that, that's massive audience there. Okay, B2B and LinkedIn. We target professionals. We paid adverts there. What would be the approach on LinkedIn? Any difference in how we approach it, or do we just use the same framework where we engage them, we answer the why questions, communicate benefits, do some storytelling? What's the approach on LinkedIn?
The framework is the same. The difference is the targeting, because it's a B2B network. Because the let's say you want to target orthodontists that have more than 10 years of experience, you could do it on LinkedIn. You cannot do it. You used to be able to do it on Facebook. Now you're no longer able to do. You want to target people who are CTO at banks with more than 1,000 employees. You could do it on LinkedIn. You cannot do it on the other platform. But the mindset is the same. I get a lot of people who reach out to me, Sarah, help. I spent $5,000 and I got zero lead. And when I look, basically they're sending traffic to the homepage. The homepage is not good. I mean, search driven. If somebody's searching for something actively and you send them to the homepage, it could work. For somebody you're interrupting, you lost them. They're going to look at your homepage and say, I couldn't careless. And I did run a lot of B2B ad in the medical niche. So angle, we tried like, hey, how do you grow your medical practice? How do you use email marketing to get more return client? How to avoid burnout? How do you hire people when the market is competitive? Um, I did work one with a very famous chiropractors, and his email was joint venture email was doing really well, but he was borrowing credibility where somebody had been on someone email list for 5 years, and he said, "Go check that training." It converted at 20-30%, but when we run ad,
Well,
nobody wanted to care. So I watched the video, and it used to have like a very vague headline, like the revolutionary marketing, da 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 da, etc. And you feel more lost after reading it than clear on what it is. In the training, he said that some chiropractor practices they have a retention rate as low as 10%. And when you train your team to ask the right question, you have a follow-up plan, explain to the patient that to get rid of back pain, they need at least 10 sessions, the retention rate could increase as high as 74%. So now my headline is like, hey, case study how X increased his retention rate from the average 10% to 74%. Now 20% of people who landed on the landing page opted in. I mean, if you're a chiropractor doctor, I'm like, oh my God, I'm having all those patients that I could get them to stay longer. Sure, I get the benefit. That's more money from me. So it was more about really spelling out the benefit. And in B2B, especially if you have small niches, you would need to do more testing, or you would go through bigger iteration of tests than if you sell a product to a market with 100 million consumer.
testing of ad copies or split testing of landing pages.
Or benefit point, or benefit points.
Benefit points, okay.
So at some point after COVID, I mean, I used to run ad telling veterinarian how to grow their medical practice, and for a while I was getting really good result. And after COVID, like I tried like 10 ad and nothing is working. And suddenly the CEO had a call with a veterinarian, and he said, "Hey, do you want to grow your practice?" And he said, "If I get more clients, I'm going to jump out of the window and kill myself, because by the time of COVID, everyone adopted a cat or a dog. So on the top of that, my employees are staying home because they're getting unemployment money. So I'm working every day till midnight. I cannot. I'm waking at 6 in the morning. I'm working till midnight. I cannot take it anymore. I'm overwhelmed." And Now when we change it, like how to avoid burnout, suddenly people are like, oh, I am burnout. I could really go with getting some advice how to avoid or recover from burnout, or how not to burn myself down.
Okay, burnout could be a problem. So nailing the pain points is important when you're communicating the benefits and your offer. Any additional specific tips for advertising on TikTok? I know that LinkedIn. I know that it could be very expensive, like a note of £10 per click. So that's a lot of money for per engagement. So any tips there?
Always look at money in, money out when advertising. Let's say you go on Facebook and you're like, oh my God, I'm paying $5 per lead. On LinkedIn, you're paying $50 per lead. So you're going to say one is better than the other. But it could very well be that on Facebook, you're saying, hey, here is how you could use email marketing to grow your dental practice. And you have a lot of other marketers seeing the ad who are opting in. Well, on LinkedIn, you're only getting dentists who are opting in. So you want to track beyond the cost per lead, the cost per sale. As in, I spent $1,000 on LinkedIn, how much business growth I had. I spent $1,000 on Facebook, how much business growth. Um, I I did have. The other thing is Facebook is so full of fake profile and pot, because every business owner, are so many of them, they would go and buy 10,000 fake fan. So people would think they are popular. You don't have that problem to that extent on LinkedIn. So if you're running a conversion campaign on Facebook and you switch to something else, you might literally get 10,000 click and none of them convert. While with the conversion campaign, you had like a 20% conversion rate. On LinkedIn, I found that if I change the objective, I'm not that much penalized. Yes, LinkedIn will know who's more likely to convert, to click or engage and so on. But I even had like pure impression campaign where I had high click-through rate, just because they don't have the same problem that there is on Facebook. So and sometimes just by playing with the optimization, by finding which audience converted or not, sometimes I'm able to bring the cost down by 3 to 5 times. While on Facebook, the
Right.
day where you do the split testing and cut the cost by five are long gone.
Okay. Speaking of Facebook, Meta is still a massive advertising platform. And what are the most common mistakes that you can observe these days on that platform?
People think it's all about the targeting, because somehow they were sold that it's laser targeting, that Facebook know you better than your mother, which is not true. And people are like, hey, it didn't work, it must be the targeting. And then they go and try 200 different targeting and still wondering why it's not working. I worked with um, an insurance broker that sell income protection insurance. And when I came in, he was paying like £96 per lead. And basically, the agency had like 20 picture and the same short text, right? If you're going to educate, I mean, a short text just saying potato is potato. And when I looked at the comment section, people are saying, oh, yeah, insurance always want your money, but once you need them, they never pay. In the UK, we have income protection, we have an sick pay, we have unemployment money. And I'm like, how would you answer those objections? And just, I mean, the ad went from very short to long, because for this niche, you need to educate the market. And at some point, they're paying £8 per lead instead of 96. I mean, basically, by just telling them, go read the comment section, I saved them like 1.5 million British pound, because they spent like 300,000 while getting leads 5 times cheaper. And the mistake is like they read somewhere the copy should be short, and it depends on the niche again. And they were just testing audiences and copy like and images like crazy, and never thought, hey, people have objection. How about answering those objections with good copy?
Okay, short copy. I attempted advertising on Facebook a couple of weeks ago. I'm organizing, facilitating a local improvisational comedy workshop here in Pittsburgh, and I decided to advertise on Facebook locally. And I went for an image and short copy just to convey the message, spread the word, that type of advertising. Pretty basic. I haven't done Facebook for in a long time, years, advertising on Facebook, or I barely use Facebook myself. What would be your recommendation here? How can I make this campaign more successful? What else can I do apart from short copy and image, a basic campaign and
Is there
playing with the audience?
any comedian you follow on social media? Like, my God, I love their content. Or they make me laugh,
Mm,
or I really would want to go to their
yeah,
show.
I can think of some comedians
Give me a
that
name, any random name.
that would be difficult. I'm terrible with names.
Okay, I'll give you. Okay, I follow Joe Lycett, and he's really the person who loves trolling um, other people. And at some point, he talked about how he got out of a parking ticket because there are some laws in the UK that you have the right to every, I don't know, if there is any camera filming you or something like that. And he basically wrote to the council, and they say we had an event, and he was just arguing with them for the sake of arguing. You see, and it's the moment. Oh my God, I love how he's a troll, and I'm like, I would totally go to one of his show. So when it comes to comedy, you cannot just say, hey, I have a comedy, because I could go to YouTube or Netflix or whatever and watch hour of comedy while being in my pajama, right? What make work with comedy is somebody talking, making people laugh. I mean, and maybe they'll make some laugh, and some people say, I don't get it, right? So for this one, I mean, video is king or queen, or maybe
Video.
yeah, or even, okay, if you don't want to, I mean, people would need to watch you on the video, and after 10 seconds or half a minute of watching that, oh my God, he's funny, he making me laugh. I could imagine how,
I'm not performing. I'm doing that for the benefit of the others,
or the
or it's
other, or the
people
others. I mean,
workshop participating.
or even
Yes.
you, I would say, go to the workshop and give people a pre-taste of the value they're getting at the workshop.
Mm. So a teaser, show them something relatable
Yeah, is
that
it
they
is it
could
like a
use.
workshop teaching you how to do improv, or is it just a work?
Yes, and everyone's participating. It's not a coaching session in any
So
way.
I would just go as a user and say something I learned. Maybe somebody did something improv and everybody laughed till the stomach is hurting. I would say it. Maybe there is a tactic on how to do improv. So people who would read your ad like, oh, okay, I never knew that this is how you do improv. I want to know more. It's give them a sample, right? It's like you give them a very tiny slice of cake, and once they taste it, they want to eat 2 slices or 5 slices of cake if it tastes good.
Okay. I would imagine that it would be the same when you're looking to promote your business. Show something behind the scenes, or something genuine that people would, especially with video, people would know that it's not created by AI. It's something that's actually exists, and it's part of you and what you have to offer. Video is very good for this purpose in general. Now, speaking of AI and ChatGPT, it's a hot topic nowadays. It's getting old, actually. It's been something from the beginning of the year. But where does AI and ChatGPT come into play, and any specific use cases where we can use the technology when we are looking to promote?
My,
a business.
myself, I want to use it to edit my copy, to get new idea where I might have a draft and I might say, please simplify the copy. Please make it easier to read. Please shorten it. And sometimes I like what ChatGPT do, and sometimes I'm like, no, I really hate. So once in a while for generating idea, I like it, but I don't want to use it to automate my work because I think when everyone is doing the same way, going that direction, you have an advantage of going to the other direction. And with AI, whether it's copy, I mean, 5 years ago, business owner will come to me to say, hey, I tried to run Facebook app, I understand nothing. The interface is very confusing. Can I just pay you? I need you do it for me. Now the interface is simplified with AI. Someone with very little experience can do it. So how do you stand out? And I found it's how do you optimize everything outside of Facebook? Because it's still an ecosystem. People still exist outside of Facebook, outside of LinkedIn, outside of TikTok. Is how do you get better at writing ad copy? How do you get better at writing email? How do you get better at having more persuasive landing pages? And I think people are now forgetting about the importance of persuasion and just saying, oh my God, AI is going to save me time. Okay, I'll tell you a story. Before AI, there used to be what they call content mill, where they paid people like 1 cent per word. And a friend was complaining, like, yeah, like once. So if you write 100 words, you're getting paid $1. Okay, and basically they hire people from poor countries. It's horrible working condition. And I knew a friend who used to work. Now she's a senior manager at Moz, and she was complaining that those companies are asking people to take a free test. So I'm like, out of curiosity, I just want to see, let me make the most stupid thing just to see how they react. And one of those companies, like an automated test, like you choose some questions, you answer them, then they say, okay, have a 1,000 word written assignment and talk about credit card security, and you have half an hour. I know nothing about credit card security. What makes you think I could write quality thing in 30 minutes? Um, I'm like, okay, Sarah, do your absolute worst where there's no way they would hire you. And basically, I said, I put on my ankle nipple mustard, and then I got the cat to lick it. And once there was no skin, I got him to call the bank because this is how he relaxed. And yeah, but I'm embarrassed. How would I tell the bank I buy adult diaper? You're using it to cook the fish because it sealed the juices. And I'm like, there's no way somebody's going to see that and hire me. I got multiple emails from the content mill to say, hey, we have multiple projects we want you to work on. So nobody read that. Um, I knew company agency that would pay content mill and they get hundreds of blog posts written and they get zero lead, zero client from it. I even went to Google, what is it, Brad, I forgot the name. And I said, can you summarize a blog post I wrote? The tool recognized my blog post, but totally misrepresented everything I said when writing the summary. And I only knew about it because I wrote the blog post and I know what I wrote. And I could guarantee you there is a lot of people who are going out, summarize this, summarize that, without fact checking any of what the machine is saying.
Mm.
So use it to save some time to get some ideas. But I'm not a big fan of putting all my egg in AI. There is
Yeah.
still value in doing things manually if you do it properly.
Yes, absolutely. And I completely agree. There's so much content that's created, especially in the search marketing industry, for the sake of having content which nobody actually sees, let alone getting sales from that content. Now, the way I use personally ChatGPT is it really helps when I'm looking to promote a product, regardless of the platform. It really helps to get some ideas of what are the benefits of a specific product without spending hours of researching. You can just ask what are the benefits of doing improv, for example, and it will just give you 10 or 20 benefits, and you can ask more until you get an idea, and you can cherry pick the ones that are actually valuable for your product and that you can actually use for whatever you are looking to promote. That's one thing I personally use. It. It's valuable research tool in that sense, not necessarily using it to create a copy. Now, one thing that I don't see being able to do is write compelling stories and to use storytelling and maybe help with storytelling. I might be ignorant. I'm not a prompt engineer. Uh, uh, can you share your process? I know that you have an interesting process to create stories. How do you uncover the stories behind the business? You work with someone and you want to create a story that could be communicated online. How do you approach that?
There are two things. So there are the story about the business, and I could only get that by speaking to the business. So at some point, a client was talking about how to train people at a medical facility to answer the phone, right? And this is abstract. So I email, I'm like, can we talk? And she started explaining. I'm like, can we role play? Pretend I'm calling the veterinary clinic and I have a sick cat, and everyone is basically price shopping. Hey, how much does it cost to castrate the cat? Oh, $50. Okay, thank you. And I call the next one. And her approach was, oh, tell me about your cat. Why do you think you need to castrate the cat? Oh, maybe if the cat is aggressive, maybe it's diabetes, maybe it's not, maybe it's something else. How about you bring? And just having that approach, I had an ad to write a story, and I'm like, okay, do you have any clinic that you trained them, and what was the outcome? Oh my God, there was one clinic where 100%, where one employee, 100% of the calls never converted into a client, and it's not her fault because nobody trained her how to answer the phone. So that's one way of doing it. The other way, it's analogy. So it's not necessarily a story about the business. So it's like if I said pomelo fruit, you never tried it, you ask me how does it taste, I'm like, it's like grapefruit, but it's not as bitter, it's more sweet. So sometimes if there are complex things that are not easy to understand, I wonder how could I simplify the language by using analogy or using a story to introduce as a hook to introduce something else, even if it's not my own story.
Two things I noted: interviewing the client and making analogies when you craft your stories. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you,
Same
Sarah.
here.
For everybody watching, where is the best place to follow you, where people can find you?
On LinkedIn, just search for my name, or my website is Sarah with an H at the end hyphen SAL.com.
Thank you so much. Make sure to follow Sarah on LinkedIn. Check out her website. I'll leave links in the description below. Again, pleasure talking to you and wish you a fantastic week ahead.
Okay.